Good morning, New Brunswick, and welcome to the New Brunswick Today show for today, Tuesday, November 22nd. I'm Charlie Cradaville. I'll be your host. We've got a great show for you today. We'll have an update for you on the criminal case pending against Governor Chris Christie. It is a chilly 40 degrees right now here in downtown New Brunswick. The high today is just going to be 49, and the low tonight is going to be 30. It's according to weather.com. We've also got 3 road closures for you today. Sanford Street closed between Joyce Kilmer and Livingston Avenues until 4 p.m. Seaman Street is reduced to a single lane between Troop and Commercial Aves until 5 p.m. And later tonight, the northbound side of Route 27 is going to be reduced to a single lane between Sanford Street and Quentin Ave. That is until from starting at 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. tomorrow. And our top story today is that criminal case against Governor Chris Christie. Christie was due in court tomorrow for a hearing on a serious charge of second-degree official misconduct. But last week, his attorneys filed an appeal which effectively delayed his day in court until January 2017. But we'll tell you there's more to this story. By now, you know the basics. Lanes to get on the world's busiest bridge abruptly closed by one of Christie's shady characters who he put into power at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Rumors spread that the change was not a legitimate traffic study, but instead was a punitive, vindictive scheme to punish a politician in Fort Lee, the community that the George Washington Bridge calls home. Now, the purposeful traffic jams went on for several days, leading to massive frustrations in Fort Lee, as well as questions from legislators and journalists. And eventually, it went criminal, with the U.S. Attorney's Office pressing charges on 3 of Christie's appointees. So far, all 3 of those Christie allies in this case have either pled guilty or been found guilty by a jury. Now, another one of Christie's cronies, a man who's been referred to as Christie's best friend and his mentor, is also now a convicted felon after he pled guilty in a seemingly unrelated scandal that involved the Port Authority. He's the chairman there. Now, these scandals already torpedoed Christie's hopes of becoming U.S. president, but not for his own lack of trying. Christie spent most of his time out of New Jersey during a failed presidential campaign, but he was never able to get enough traction to break into the top tier of those candidates that were gunning for the Republican nomination, and he ultimately dropped out of the race. Of course, it was his good friend, Donald Trump, who prevailed in that contest and went on to defeat Hillary Clinton and win the presidency in a stunning upset earlier this month, with some help from Christie. As we reported in our most recent story on this interesting political duo, Christie wrote speeches for Trump. He helped him practice for his debates against Clinton, and he also famously led the cheering crowd at the Republican National Convention as he called for Clinton to be jailed. Well, now it's Christie that could be facing prosecution in the George Washington Bridge scandal, and the prospect of that prosecution hanging over him may well have cost Christie a shot at a White House job in Trump's administration. You can read on NewBrunswickToday.com right now about how Trump has been distancing himself from Christie, unceremoniously demoting or dismissing all of Christie's people from the powerful transition team that Christie once led. And yes, these Port Authority scandals have made the governor, at least for now, toxic, even to Donald Trump. And now adding to that toxicity was the criminal complaint filed against the governor himself. It's an interesting story behind this complaint. The man who filed that complaint against Christie is Bill Brennan, a retired firefighter from Bergen County. This is highly unusual. Most criminal complaints start with a police officer or a prosecutor signing off and submitting the complaint summons to a court. But Brennan took his complaint directly. His complaint claimed, we can actually bring up the complaint for you here, it claimed that Fort Lee residents were deprived of the benefit and enjoyment of their community as a consequence of this intentional evil-minded act. And that complaint was filed, given straight to Municipal Court Judge Roy McGeady, where he agreed to sign it, agreed that there was probable cause for that complaint based on the sworn testimony from the trial of Christie's appointees. Now, the audience in McGeady's courtroom that day applauded when he agreed to sign that complaint, and Christie's world was turned upside down by this George Washington Bridge scandal once again. In the final days of the presidential campaign, plans for Christie to campaign for Trump were also canceled in the wake of guilty verdicts for both of his appointees that were on trial in that high-profile criminal case. Now, in the days following Trump's surprise victory, Christie's been left out in the cold a little bit, and it appears less and less likely that Christie will end up in a position in that Trump administration, which means New Jersey will be stuck with him, even though 4 out of 5 New Jerseyans don't approve of the job Christie is doing. Now, we were very much looking forward to watching the governor appear in criminal court tomorrow. Unfortunately, we won't get that chance just yet. But Bill Brennan, the man pushing the criminal charge against Christie, has filed an important motion in this criminal case, one that is set to be heard on November 30th. That's a week from tomorrow. So according to a video Brennan posted on YouTube, his motion is asking for a special prosecutor to be appointed for this case. I'll let him explain to you why he thinks that's the right thing to do and why he's calling for people to show up at Bergen County Superior Court for that important hearing next week. Here's the And good morning once again, New Brunswick. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We are back, and we're about to show you this video of Bill Brennan, the man who filed the criminal complaint against Governor Christie, explaining why he's calling for a judge to appoint a special prosecutor in the case. Here's the video from Bill Brennan.
Hi, my name is Bill Brennan, and I'm a retired firefighter from the township of Teaneck. I'm also somebody who has a firm belief that we as citizens have a civic duty to demand integrity from our public officials. Now, on 9/11/2013, Governor Christie was informed that local access lanes to the George Washington Bridge had been closed in retaliation for somebody not engaging in a political action that was favorable to the governor. That's dereliction of duty in violation of official misconduct statutes. In order to process that charge, since I'm not a law enforcement officer, I had to bring my complaint in front of a judge. And on 10/13 of this year, about a month ago, a judge sat and evaluated the evidence, and he determined that probable cause existed to believe that Chris Christie committed an act of official misconduct. That's the same standard that a prosecutor would bring before a grand jury in order to get an indictment. So in essence, a judge has indicted Chris Christie for official misconduct. The problem that ensues from here is that unless somebody steps in and checks and balances this branch of government, the governor will control whether or not he gets prosecuted. He appointed the prosecutor, he appointed the attorney general, and he's in charge of everybody underneath them. I have a motion pending before Judge Bonnie Misdall, who's the assignment judge for Bergen County. On November 30th, 2016, a few weeks from now, she's going to decide whether or not those agencies are disqualified and a special prosecutor will be appointed. The eyes of the world need to be upon this issue. We're at a dangerous juncture here where somebody has placed himself beyond the reach of law. I'm calling upon you and like-minded citizens to come to court and watch and witness what is about to happen. I believe that Judge Misdall is an honorable jurist. I believe she's under a lot of pressure from forces far greater, with far more authority than us, to do something other than what's right and honorable. She needs our support, and I need your support. I hope I can see you at 9 o'clock in the morning on November 30th in Judge Misdall's courtroom. Thank you.
And welcome back to the New Brunswick Today show. Just want to take a moment to thank Kat Marchitto, who is supporting our work by becoming a member. Kat will receive New Brunswick Today's phenomenal bilingual print edition delivered twice each month. Thank you, Kat, for signing up. You too can support the state's only independent bilingual community newspaper by becoming a member, a sustaining member, online today at members.newbrunswicktoday.com. Now, for a limited time through this membership program, you can subscribe to the New Brunswick Today newspaper for just $5 per month and get both those issues mailed anywhere in the United States. It's the only independent bilingual community newspaper. You get that at your home twice each month, anywhere in the U.S. Just visit members.newbrunswicktoday.com to become a member today. Now, our latest issue is also available all over Middlesex County in the big blue boxes around town. You can find a full list of where to find those boxes on the newbrunswicktoday.com website. It's also available in many great businesses throughout the county. So keep checking that website for the latest in what's going on all over the county, especially here in New Brunswick. Our very own Jenny Goldberg is working on a story right now about this fire. Here, take a look at this. This is just 15 minutes before the Rutgers football team was set to kick off its big game against Penn State on Saturday night. New Brunswick police and fire personnel were dispatched here to 14 Union Street for a report of multiple fires. The investigation revealed that those fires were intentionally set, and 3 suspects were identified according to a New Brunswick Police Department press release. 2 of the suspects were located on the scene. That's 24-year-old Colin Quinn from Wildwood Crest, New Jersey, and 23-year-old Samuel Chen of New Brunswick. Both of them received burns, were treated for non-life-threatening injuries, according to the police. A third suspect, 22-year-old Michael Santatoro of Freehold, was located a short time later on Livingston Avenue. All 3 men are charged with arson and conspiracy to commit arson. In total, there were 9 vehicles that sustained fire damage, along with a trash and a storage bin. Now, one of the great things about this show is you can put it on in the background, open up a new browser window, and read some of the great journalism available on the newbrunswicktoday.com website. If you go there right now, you'll see a story that you can't find anywhere else. New Brunswick Today's Carlos Ramirez broke the story that a 14-year-old boy has been charged with assaulting a faculty member at the New Brunswick Middle School. In this latest incident, the 14-year-old was arrested and charged with, quote, juvenile offenses consistent with an assault on a school faculty member. That's according to NBPD Captain J.T. Miller. Quote, the assault occurred inside the middle school in the early morning near the start of the school day, Miller said. The faculty member received a minor injury as a result of the assault. Now, Middlesex County began its 2016-2017 white-tailed deer hunting season on November 19th, and Jenny Goldberg has that story for us. This is another one you can only find on the newbrunswicktoday.com website. Make sure you check that out. The county authorized hunt is part of the government's deer management program, which is run in conjunction with the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife, and it spans 3,000 acres of land here in Middlesex County. While hunting is a management method endorsed by that Division of Fish and Wildlife, which is pretty pro-hunting, there's alternative non-lethal methods that are often overlooked. This is a quote here. If hunting worked, we wouldn't have a deer problem. That's Angie Metler, the director of the Animal Protection League of New Jersey. Metler has been involved in deer hunting issues since 1983, and she notes that within New Jersey it's required by law to provide hunting opportunities, but she contends that scientific research shows that hunting does not actually reduce deer fertility, but actually raises it. Deer are self-regulating species, so that means their fertility is directly linked to their habitat and their food supply. So when a hunt occurs, deer end up traveling about 30% beyond their normal range. Their food supply doubles, and the survivors reproduce. So check that out. On November 13th, authorities found a man's body in the woods near an apartment complex at the foot of the Donald Goodkind Bridge, which spans the Raritan River and connects Edison and New Brunswick. A resident of the Valley Manor Apartments told NJ.com's Tom Hayden that he heard a loud bang at around 6 a.m. And prosecutors announced later in the day that local firefighters had been and cops had been dispatched to the scene about 14 minutes later at 6:14 a.m., where the man's remains were, quote, discovered when the fire was extinguished. Now, according to Hayden's photos, that crime scene appeared to be located in the woods between the complex's parking lot and the bridge that carries Route 1 south over the Raritan River. More than a week later, there have been no follow-up statements either from the Edison Police or the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office regarding this case. It is at least the 4th suspicious incident where a body was found in or near the city of New Brunswick since September 12th. Check out newbrunswicktoday.com for the full story on that. While you're there, you can also read Stephen Roca's article on the New Brunswick High School Zebras football team. The team made the playoffs for the second straight year after winning their final regular season game 35-21 over the East Brunswick Bears. Unfortunately, the Zebras season came to an end in the first round of the postseason, where they had to travel to Manalapan High School only to be shut out 49-0. Again, check out NewBrunswickToday.com for that full story. And the last story we bring you today, well, we can file this one under Only in Edison. You can check out this story of a township police officer and another man who recently left the police department in disgrace have been charged with hatching a plan to set the home of one of their bosses on fire. Michael Dotro, who resigned from the Edison Police Department in September and still faces attempted murder charges in connection with a May 2013 blaze, is now being accused of conspiring with another officer to light a different superior officer's home on fire. The other officer, Christian Padana, a 16-year veteran of the EPD, is now suspended without pay, according to a spokesperson. Both men were charged with official misconduct and conspiracy to commit an aggravated arson by the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office. Padana was also charged with false swearing and a second official misconduct count for providing an allegedly false statement to the MCPO detective Donald Heck on June 10, 2013, during the arson conspiracy investigation. Why those charges are only being made public now, we don't know yet. It's just the latest example of the retaliatory culture among local police, particularly in Edison, one of the few towns where cops are not hired through the Civil Service Commission. Though prosecutors did not mention the plot's proposed victim by name, NJ.com's Alex Napoliello reported that Captain Michael Freeman was the alleged target of that arson. The alleged plotting occurred on April 7th, 2013, just 6 weeks before Lieutenant Mark Anderko's house in Monroe Township was targeted with a homemade bomb. However, Freeman and his home were never actually harmed and no fire was set in that case. Again, the full story on this is available at NewBrunswickToday.com, so please check that out. Thanks so much for watching today's show. We'll be back tomorrow with a very special guest. Please send us your feedback on this show to the Facebook page. Become a member and support the work we're doing at members.newbrunswicktoday.com. And tune in tomorrow for another great episode of the New Brunswick Today Show. I'm Charlie Cradville. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.